closer look. We will clear the deck here so we can make this a little easier to read. And we'll show you the rotation to see exactly what this looks like and what triggered them to issue that warning. Notice that brighter spot there just to the southwest of New Waverly where it gets into some of the gray colors. The radar site is really far to the south, so we're all the way up towards the Montgomery and Walker County border, and the radar is down in League City. So we're talking about a pretty decent distance, which means that our radar beam is looking far up into the storm. It's a lower resolution picture, but what we look for is a brighter spot on the map next to a darker or more muted color. So we've got that here. We've got that brighter orange into yellow colors here, and then that gray. So what we're looking at is a representation of the direction that the wind is moving. And when you have wind that's moving in opposite directions, think about what happens if you were to rub your hands together. If you had a cylinder in between your hands, it would start to spin. That's your tornado. So we've got strong winds that are moving away from the radar site, and we've got some lighter winds that are moving towards the radar site. So your area of rotation would be somewhere in that spot. So we'll see if I can draw that for you on the map just to make that a little clearer. But this is, again, moving towards the New Waverly area. We'll do a timestamp on this before I draw exactly where this is. So New Waverly by 3:52. So right now it's 3:41. Expect this in New Waverly within the next 10 minutes. Unity Church, this gets to you around 3:58, so just around the top of the hour. And then again, if this holds together, 4-Notch Hunter Camp. So in this area, this is a fairly more rural part of Walker County over here, but it's New Waverly. You really got to keep an eye on this storm. This storm is actually pretty much on your doorstep right now. If you're just watching us, we are breaking into programming right now to bring you the latest on a tornado-warned storm coming into Walker County. So this is Montgomery County down here. The storm is about to cross into Walker County here. Here's Texas 150. Okay, so here's the North Freeway. Here's I-45. So this is about to cross over where Texas 150 meets I-45, probably within the next 5 to 10 minutes. And we're in between radar scans right now. So once the newest radar scan comes in, they come in about every 4 to 6 minutes. You're going to see this jump. So we're getting this picture right now is a few minutes old, so just take this with a grain of salt. If you're in the New Waverly area right here, this storm is very close to you. There's a lot of rain with this, and there's a lot of lightning as well, which is a sign of an intense storm. But because there's so much rain, because this is in an area with a lot of trees, you're not going to see this thing coming. So it's really important that you get to the lowest level of your home, get to the most interior part of your home, so put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, whether that's an interior hallway, an interior closet, an interior bathroom. You don't want to be in a room with any windows. So again, if you're just joining us, coming on the air with a tornado warning. This is in effect until 4 p.m. This storm is moving to the north and east at about 35 miles per hour. We are expecting this to reach New Waverly by 3:52. What we're showing you on the map here, this is the rotation detection product that we use. So this shows us the wind that's around the storms, and that's how we're able to determine, okay, well, the winds are moving in such a manner that there could be some rotation here, which could lead to a tornado. So we're not looking at rain, which is the typical radar shot that we show you. We're actually showing you the velocity product, the rotation detection product here. And what we're looking for are these brighter spots like this, next to darker spots like this gray. So we've got one area here. This is the wind moving to the north. It's moving away from the radar site, which is down south. And then we've got this gray area here. This represents winds that are moving towards that radar site. And so in between, think about it, you've got winds going this way and this way. So there's your spin right there. And so this is going to be moving again towards New Waverly and I-45 within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So this is a pretty impressive thunderstorm that we are tracking for you here. The National Weather Service has been watching this for a little bit of time. Again, this is going to keep moving towards the north and east. This is just coming out of Montgomery County here and now crossing into Walker County. I believe we just got a new radar scan there. We'll show you the history of this storm. Notice how this was about 15 minutes ago. Watch how the colors here go from being a darker color and they get brighter. So that's an indication that that rotation got tighter and it got stronger. So that's what triggered the National Weather Service to issue this tornado warning. So right now, this is a radar indicated storm. We don't have confirmation from anybody on the ground yet that there's a tornado, but there could be one dropping out of this storm at any moment. We could also see hail up to 1 inch in diameter. So even if you're not in the direct path of this ball of rotation, this is a pretty impressive storm here as we switch back over to our this is the traditional mode that we see radar. And notice the areas of darker red in here, the magenta, that's where we could see some of that hail. But I would say the core of this tornado threat is about to cross over the New Waverly area here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll get you back in for a closer look. We'll switch back over to velocity. This is pretty much right on top of New Waverly right now. So the I-45 exit to New Waverly, that's exactly where this storm is going, right where it crosses over FM 1375, which eventually turns into Texas 150 if you live along Rogers Road, or I believe this is Texas 75. Bear with me here one sec. Yeah, Texas 75. So here's Texas 75, and here's I-45. If you live in this area, that's what we are. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a potential tornado moving over your area. All right, so brand new update on this warning. Nothing's changed. Still radar indicated. Still talking about 1 inch in diameter hail size. Warning is in effect for 14 more minutes until 4 p.m. So if you're just joining us, we have a tornado warning in effect. This storm is now lifting out of Montgomery County. It's moving into Walker County. That's the immediate spot that's in danger right now. The New Waverly community. If you know anybody that's in this area, again, it's the interior room. It's away from the outside, away from any windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible as this storm moves through. This is a very dangerous storm. We've been watching this. There's a lot of thunder and lightning with this cell as well, and also the potential to see some hail. Let's get out onto a wider look just to show you what's going on across the board, because it's been a pretty active afternoon for areas to the north of town. And when we put lightning on this, I mean, you could see it's been an electric afternoon for a lot of these areas. The storms that were going through Polk and San Jacinto before have somewhat weakened, and now we're seeing just a lot of rain for these areas. But this is the main concern here, and this is typically the case when you get a big cluster of storms like this. You watch the one, we call this a tail end Charlie. You watch the storm that's on the very end of that cluster, because that's typically the ones able to tap into a favorable environment. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. We've been watching this storm off screen for the last 15 or 20 minutes. And again, now that it's shown strengthening in rotation, we've actually been, they were the ones that the National Weather Service pulled the trigger on that tornado warning. Let's go over to our, we call this correlation coefficient. This is a debris detection product. So we can actually use radar to determine if there's any debris being picked up, which would of course indicate the presence of a tornado. We don't see anything here. So what do we look for in this image? Okay, so all of the red, that's rain. So that's fine. Anytime you start to see that red turn to a yellowish color, that could indicate the presence of some hail. So that's likely what we're seeing here on the north end of the storm. And then when you start to get into a concentrated area of blue, that's where we start to see the detection of larger objects in the air. So we're talking about trees, parts of homes and cars. And notice we don't see that out there. Okay, so everything's still red, which indicates rain. And we're seeing a little bit of hail on the north end of this. So there's good news so far. We aren't seeing a radar confirmed tornado, but it is radar indicated, meaning that the possibility is there for a tornado at any moment. You're just joining us, 3:49. We've got 11 minutes left on this tornado warning. This has now moved into Walker County. Areas in Montgomery County are in the clear. It's New Waverly that we have our sights set on right now as this storm moves to the north and east at about 35 miles per hour. We'll put another track on this, and we'll switch over to velocity first. This actually does look like it's strengthened a little bit since we showed this to you last, and we can actually get a sample of what these winds look like. So we've got the winds moving in one direction at 57 miles per hour, and in the other direction, they're not moving much. They're moving at about, hold on. Moving at about a mile. Yeah, okay. So again, we're looking at this storm from a long way away, right? So we're up in Walker County near New Waverly, just south. Huntsville is up here behind this box. The radar site is all the way down to League City. So because we're looking at the storm from so far away, it's lower resolution. We're looking higher up into the storm. With all that in mind, this is an impressive signature, but you're not going to see those big numbers like 80-mile-an-hour winds going in opposite directions. But that's still an impressive signature there. So again, as we take this and we time it out over the next 20 minutes or so as it moves to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. Unity Church, we're still looking at you just around the top of the hour at 4:02. New Light Church, another spot that's in the path of this storm at 4:05, and then still 4-Notch Hunter Camp at 4:08. This warning, though, is only in effect until 4 o'clock, so we'll have to see if they actually extend this going beyond the 4 o'clock hour. I got to tell you, though, unless this starts to show signs of weakening, they probably will extend this just because it's shown some signs of strengthening here in just the last few minutes. All right, so again, tornado-warned storm about to cross over I-45. This radar image is now about 4 or 5 minutes old. We should be getting a refreshed radar scan here in just the next few minutes. And once that happens, you're going to see this take a little bit of a jump. Right now, though, it's pretty much over I-45, if not just a little bit past I-45. So this is in New Waverly right now. This storm, the most dangerous part of the storm, in New Waverly right now, about to cross over to the north east side of town, just to the north of Hawthorne. And again, this warning in effect until 4 p.m., so another 9 minutes left on this. This is a radar indicated bout of rotation, and also we could see up to an inch in diameter sized hail. So crossing over the interstate and eventually going to push to the north and east. And I'm just going to ask my producer in the back if we have any text dot cameras. Feel free to take them at any point or get in my ear. But that's what we've got right now. A lot of rain shots, so that's what we're seeing on the highways. No rain shots, excuse me. No rain shots, but we are seeing a lot of rain up there, and again, a little bit of hail as well. So this is, again, the rotation that we're looking at here. This is showing us what the wind looks like in the storm. So we're seeing winds that are moving away from the radar site. So remember, the radar is down to the south. So these winds, all this orange color here, this is indicating winds that are moving in this direction. I'll draw it out for you so you get a really clear idea of what's going on. So the winds are moving in this direction. And then this gray area indicates winds that are moving in that direction. And so that puts our area of rotation generally in the middle there, right? So this is where you're going to see that area of spin, is where those winds are meeting. And what happens in between? Something starts to rotate. So the storm itself is rotating. So the storm itself is spinning, whether or not that spin is making it to the ground as a tornado. That's a totally different story. But this storm has shown the signs of one that's capable of bringing that spin down to the ground as a tornado. And so that's why we are warning you of a tornado. That's why the tornado warning is in effect. So again, another 7 minutes left on this. We're waiting for that new radar scan. The storm is over New Waverly right now here in southern Walker County. And it's going to keep moving up towards the north and east, eventually getting into San Jacinto County. Hopefully it weakens by then, but this is just what we're watching right now. So it's out of Montgomery County. Montgomery County, you're in the clear. This is just going to be an issue right now for Walker County. We're still waiting on the newest radar scan from this storm. Trying to see if we can get maybe a better way to show you exactly what this looks like in terms of the location for the rotation. We can go over to our shear detector product. So this shows us where shear would be on the map. I don't think it's going to be too strong, but yeah, it's pretty much where I showed you those two opposing colors. That bright spot on the map was next to the gray. That area of blue basically simplifies that image, and it says, okay, we've got wind moving in different directions. That's where the shear is. So right there, just to the west of New Waverly, as of the last radar scan, and again, this is probably pretty much over the town right now, or now just to the north and east, and this is going to keep moving to the north and east here as we go through the next few minutes. Back to radar, just so you get an idea of what's happening. This is a view that we're obviously more used to here. You can see a lot of heavy rain with this, a couple lightning strikes as well. There's our new scan that just came in. You can see a little bit of hail possible with this cell. So it's hail and a tornado threat with this storm. All right, so it's been a pretty active afternoon for a lot of areas north of the city. Let's kind of widen out and just kind of reset here and talk about what's going on. Heavy storms to the north and east through Polk and San Jacinto, but none of these are severe. These were pretty punchy before. They've really weakened. Now it's just heavy rain. This is the storm that we're concerned about. And if you've been, if you've lived in this area for a long time, if you've lived in a tornado-prone area for a long time, we've all heard of the hook echo. We can actually see that here. I don't know if our hand tracker is on. We'd have to, don't worry about it. This is where that hook is, right in this area here. So that is the spot that we could see that potential for the tornado, and that's exactly what the National Weather Service has highlighted here with this tornado warning. So again, tornado warning in effect until 4 o'clock. Radar indicated rotation. This storm now to the north of Willis. This is right over New Waverly right now. It's out of Montgomery County and into Walker County. We will stop the clock on this, and we will show you exactly where this storm is going over the next few minutes. We'll zoom in, and we switch to our velocity detector. So again, this is right over the town of New Waverly, just to the north here, maybe about 5 miles or so out of the heart of the downtown area, the heart of the town. And then this is going to keep moving up towards San Jacinto County. It will stay south of Huntsville. So if you're watching this from Huntsville and you've got an alert to your phone, this looks to stay, as of right now, out of downtown Huntsville. I think it's going to take more of this northeasterly track. Of course, we have to be on guard to see if it does a turn to the north. But right now, I think this keeps going towards the northeast, again, at about 35 miles per hour, which would take this over some more rural areas as we get to the top of the hour. So we'll draw a track on this. We'll show you where it's going here. 4-notch Hunter Camp. We keep shouting you out within the next 10 minutes or so. So I would be getting to your safe spot if you live around this area, if you know that as a landmark. Go ahead, Karina. So we are in contact with the Waller County OEM. Good news is that no reports, Walker County. Good news that no reports of any tornado damage, but they have reported some pretty bad weather up there, which obviously makes sense. We've seen hail with this storm. We have some pretty gusty winds probably as well, but no tornado damage so far. That's good news. Hopefully we keep that going. Of course, we'll get a full report from them once the storm is over and they've been able to talk to all of their first responders. What was that? From the National Weather Service, okay, this is even great news, even better news here. National Weather Service saying that the cell has shown signs of weakening, which means that they are going to expire this warning. They're anticipating, if that trend continues, that they will let this expire by 4 p.m. So 3 more minutes left on this warning. Again, the cell has now crossed over I-45. It is now moving past New Waverly out to more of a rural area. Still a dangerous storm, even after they dropped the tornado warning with this. We're still talking about the potential for gusty winds, a lot of lightning, and some hail, but it has shown signs of weakening in the last few minutes. So there's good news. Over the last 15 minutes or so, you could see this is where it peaked just about 4 minutes ago. That's when the colors were their brightest, and we've seen them kind of disperse there. So that's what we're talking about with this storm. We're watching some dangerous weather for the rest of the afternoon. It is lifting out of the area, but we've got more severe weather on the way for tomorrow. We're going to have the latest on that coming up when we see you for the 411 at the top of the hour in about a minute and a half.
Minutes to get into your safe space as of right now. Could be in Phelps at about 4:10, 4:17 in Dodge, 4:21 in Oakhurst as it continues to lift to the north into San Jacinto and Walker counties. And then by about 4:30, it will be near Point Blank, 4:34 near Lake Livingston, and 4:39 near Trinity. But again, this is a tornado warning that's in effect for portions of Montgomery counties, also San Jacinto and Walker counties, and in effect until 4 p.m. as this is a radar indicated tornado. So we have been putting out rotation within this thunderstorm. I started to key in on this around 3:15. Even asked David Tillman, hey, can you check on this thunderstorm? Am I seeing this rotation? And yes, we have seen it, and it has continued. So here's our Doppler winds to show you where that rotation is occurring right now. It's where the reds meets the greens, but we even have yellows on here. So this means that we are likely seeing a mesocyclone, some kind of lowering, and some lower rotation within this thunderstorm that could potentially produce a tornado. So this is something, again, you have to be aware of if you are within Montgomery County. This pink polygon here, this is a tornado warning for a radar indicated tornado. So we don't have any sightings of a potential tornado on the ground. First things first, if you're within this polygon, which does include New Waverly, this is right about to be on top of you, New Waverly. So I need you in your safe place. It's about to cross I-45 just to the south of Huntsville. So again, and this is also just north of Lake Conroe right now. Our Lake Conroe Skycam is pointed the other direction. It points south, not north, unfortunately. So we would like to see potentially some eyes on this. But again, first things first, you got to take shelter. Wait for this to pass you. No threat to Houston or downtown Houston right now. Again, this storm is north of the city of Houston, but we also have another potential thunderstorm we're monitoring. The National Weather Service has pointed out too. But let me give you a bigger picture of what's happening. This thunderstorm has developed along a line of intense thunderstorms that is lifting from south to north. So south of that, we are in the clear for Houston. We don't have anything really going on right now. This is the main concern right now, this tornado warning for portions of Montgomery, San Jacinto, and Walker counties in effect until 4 p.m. New Waverly, I need you in your safe place. Again, inside, lowest level, away from windows. Also, Corrigan, you're within this path. Huntsville, if this storm starts to shift a little farther to the north and east, you are within the polygon, but not necessarily within the direct path as of right now. So let me back up a little bit on my graphics to show you that. Again, here's the potential trajectory on it, moving at about 35 miles per hour. Again, David Tillman, I'll bring you into this as I'm looking at the time right now. It's about 3:45. New Waverly, you've got about 5 minutes and you need to be in your safe space.
Yeah, and what we have is this storm here that we've been following, noticing the rotation with it for about the last 30 minutes or so. It is just within the last 10 minutes that we've seen the rotation appear to get just a little bit stronger. So I want to do a manual analysis of this storm and zoom right in there and show you the most important points that we're watching. And it's this little area right here just to the west of New Waverly where we're seeing the rotation within this storm. Now you see this bright yellow area right here, and then you look up at the key, that's all the way over here. So these are some very strong winds that the Doppler radar in Leak City is seeing moving away from the radar right next to an area where the winds are moving towards the radar, and that is the area of concern that you see. Now we can go back in time here over the last several minutes and notice that when we get back to about 3:28, so just about 15 to 17 minutes ago, there was red, but there wasn't any yellow at that time. Now as we've gone through time, it's really appearing to intensify just a bit as it's approaching Interstate 45 there from the south and west. So the area that we're most concerned about is the area just to the west and just to the north of New Waverly. It appears that this rotational couplet is going to be moving just about like that right across Interstate 45. You do not want to be traveling along Interstate 45 to the north of New Waverly or to the south of Huntsville over the next several minutes, because that's where that rotational couplet is located. I can zoom in even farther here and get a better look and give you a better look at exactly where that rotation is located, and you can clearly see that rotation is located right here. Let's see here if I can get my pointer up. Right about here. Looks like we're getting an update from the National Weather Service as well. And let me just read it to you. Tornado warning remains in effect until 4 p.m. For north central Montgomery County, west central San Jacinto County, and southeastern Walker counties. At 3:46, so that's just about a minute ago, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was over New Waverly or 9 miles north of Willis, moving northeast at 35. So basically what they're saying in the wording here is that this is a radar indicated circulation here. The National Weather Service, nor have we gotten any indication from anyone that there's actually a tornado on the ground with this. But what we try to do with these tornado warnings is give you advance warning. We begin to see the rotation in the mid-levels of the storm. We saw that just about 30 minutes ago. And that rotation is beginning to lower. That rotation is beginning to intensify. And now we have a radar indicated tornado warning. So a possible tornado and quarter-size hail is associated with this storm. I want to look at a couple of products here on the fly. Let me take this lightning off of here so we can see if there's possibly some debris being lofted by the storm. And as I look through this, I'm not seeing anything that looks anywhere close to debris being lofted by the tornado. But what continues to impress us and the National Weather Service is the fact that we've got this strong rotation here. A tornado could be in progress. A tornado could be developing. It's really hard to say. And that rotation appears to be just to the north of New Waverly, moving in a northeastern direction. As we look at the traditional radar display, this storm is exhibiting something that we call a hook echo. If you look closely at this particular storm, and I can point it out to you with the pointer here, it's kind of shaped like a C. It looks like a C shape there. Typically, when you have that, that's a storm that appears to be ingesting a lot of strong wind from the south. It's entering into the storm, and then it's beginning to rotate. And so the rotation that we're seeing with velocity is meeting up well with this hook echo. And whenever we see those two things, we know that there's a possibility of a tornado coming from it. But at this particular time, we don't have any strong indications of it. Now, as we go back in time, just a little while ago, that hook echo was even more pronounced back here at about, let's see, that would have been at about... About 3:15, yes. You can see when it was just west of Montgomery, that hook echo was very, very pronounced. Now that it's moved to the north and east, the hook echo itself is not as pronounced, and it appears that the storm is beginning to move away from being what we call a right mover to moving back in the same direction as the other thunderstorms. Now, sometimes when you get these supercell thunderstorms like this, when they begin to rotate and when they have enough unstable air to the east and southeast of them, they can begin to veer in a right direction away from what all the other storms are doing on the radar. That typically lets us know that we have a very intense storm that could be on the verge of producing a tornado. This one was moving to the right of all the other storms. Now it's beginning to straighten up just a little bit and move in the same direction as those storms. So at least it appears that this storm is beginning to weaken just a bit, but it's still a severe storm. It's still a very powerful storm with a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain. There's some hail in there as well, and it's certainly a storm that we need to keep an eye on.
Exactly right. It doesn't necessarily, even though the radar signature is not as pronounced as it might have been within the past 10 to 15 minutes, it doesn't mean we need to let our guard down with this particular thunderstorm. Again, this is a tornado warning for portions of Montgomery, San Jacinto, and Walker counties, including the city of New Waverly. New Waverly, if you are watching us right now on ABC 13, you need to be in your safe space, which is the ground level, lowest level of your home, away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, as this is a very interesting thunderstorm. It caught our attention early on, and it intensified very quickly. That's why we're keying in on it right now. And David, as you mentioned, within this radar loop here, we don't have that necessarily defined hook echo anymore, but I do still think there is some rotation within this particular thunderstorm, and hail as well. All of the lightning with this thunderstorm. At one point, this thunderstorm was severe warned for a quarter-size hail. That is still the possibility at this point, but it had over 400 lightning strikes within this particular thunderstorm. So it is a very intense, severe warned, and right now, a tornado warned thunderstorm until 4 p.m. So I put an updated track on this. So Phelps, you are also now within the path of this. 4:07 is when this storm could be on top of you. 4:19 for Oakhurst as it continues to move out of Montgomery County. If you are near Lake Livingston or south of Lake Livingston and Montgomery, you are in the clear as well. But this storm is just passing over I-45 right now and Texas 75. So this is, again, a very dangerous situation for anyone out on the roads, because even if there's not a tornado on the ground, this is a very intense thunderstorm. Again, we are saying that this is a radar indicated tornado. We don't have any reports and nothing from storm spotters, nothing from the National Weather Service. As of right now, David, it might be good to check chat just to double check. But again, this thunderstorm is going to continue to track to the northeast at about 35 miles per hour, eventually moving into Point Blank on Alaska and Glendale. Tornado warnings only in effect until 4 p.m. No sign of if this tornado warning is going to continue or not. Past that, of course, we'll keep you posted. But I'll put on, again, as you were mentioning, that rotation, the Doppler winds. We still have yellows meeting greens or reds meeting greens. And that's a sign for us. It's not a Christmas tree. It is the potential for rotation within this thunderstorm. And we were looking at low-level rotation as well, specifically. And that was why this tornado warning eventually was dropped. We started to see rotation in the lowest level of the atmosphere, meaning the potential for a tornado could develop. So this tornado warning, again, I want to emphasize that it does expand all the way north to Huntsville as of right now, but the strongest part of this thunderstorm is south of Huntsville. It's just north of Lake Conroe, just to the west of New Waverly. This storm is about to cross Texas 75 and I-45, I would say within about 5 minutes now, and then it's going to continue to move into eastern Montgomery County. And this is all part of a line of thunderstorms as well that has been severe warned for a couple of hours now. I think that first severe thunderstorm warning dropped right around 2:30. And again, this is the debris tracker. David, I'm looking at it with some of the lightning and things, nothing to point out, which is some good news there, at least from my vantage point. But again, I'll do a big picture and then I'll toss it back to you. For those of us in Houston, we're in the clear right now, just because this is a line of thunderstorms that developed over the Gulf and then started to lift north. And we haven't seen anything develop beyond that or underneath it or to the south of that line. There was a tornado watch in effect until 8 p.m. for counties north of Houston, not including Harris County. But again, we have a tornado watch for portions of Montgomery County and a tornado warning as well. But it looks like this thunderstorm is starting to lift out of Montgomery County and move closer to Walker and San Jacinto counties, David.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did the overview there, Elise, because we wanted to make sure that people in the Houston area know that this storm is not heading in your direction. For the last several weeks, we've had these storms develop to the north and west of us and move into southeast Texas from that direction. But this particular storm is clearly moving in a northeasterly direction away from us here in Houston. So I don't think we have to deal with this particular storm. And based on what I've been seeing on Future Track this afternoon, I think we can breathe easy as far as there being any significant thunderstorms developing in the Houston area as we head through this evening's rush. We've always been concerned this afternoon about the northern one-third of southeast Texas. That is where these thunderstorms have developed. That's where they've intensified, and that's where this particular thunderstorm is located at this time. Now, it may be doing something that we call cycle, and I want to stop this right here and just show you that it appears, as we look at this particular storm right now, that it appears to be developing that hook shape once again. That's many times our first indication that the rotation within the storm may be about to intensify. And so this is a storm that we need to keep an eye on. Of course, the tornado warning goes until 4 o'clock this afternoon, so just about another 5 minutes. And more than likely, it will be extended because we're now beginning to see where the storm appears to be rotating once again, developing that hook echo shape that you see right there. So what I want to do here is look at the velocity and basically show you what the velocity is doing, where it is. That velocity, that rotational couplet appears to be right along Interstate 45. They're just to the north of New Waverly, moving in a northeasterly direction. I can circle it for you so you can get a good look at where that rotational couplet is. So the Doppler radar is not actually seeing a tornado, especially not this far away. What they're seeing is the parent rotation within the storm, that if it tightens up, it can produce a tornado. And we are still seeing some fairly bright colors here, orange and red colors, indicating that we've got some strong winds basically moving away from the radar at this particular time, right next to some fairly strong winds moving towards it. And whenever you have winds moving in opposite direction right next to each other, with some of them moving away, some of them moving towards the radar, that's an indication of rotation. And that's what we have north of the New Waverly area, right along Interstate 45. I want to zoom in even farther here so we can put some more roads down here to show you exactly where we're talking about. There's New Waverly on the south side of it, in the vicinity of FM 2296 is where this rotational couplet appears to be heading. Highway 75 is another road that appears to be involved in this particular situation. And then, of course, Interstate 45 is also involved in where this rotation is located. I want to put this rotational couplet right there and go back in time just a little bit so we can see, is it getting stronger? Is it getting weaker? As we go back in time, right there, we didn't have as much of rotation with it. But now that we go to the current time, just before 4 p.m., we are seeing a decent amount of rotation within this particular storm. So this is a storm that we're going to have to continue to watch with this tornado tornado warning that is in effect right now. Typically, we have a radar out of Bush Airport that we can tap into and get an even closer look at this storm, but that radar appears to be down at this particular time. However, as we go through this year, our 13 alert radar network is going to be expanded to include 2 more Doppler radars, because the northern part of our viewing area where these storms are located are more than 60 miles from the National Weather Service Doppler radar in Leak City. And when they get that far away, the radar beam, Elise, is shooting so high over the top of the storm that it might not see what's going on near the ground with a thunderstorm of this particular type. And many times you can get sneaky tornadoes hit across the northern part of the viewing area without us even knowing about it.
Exactly, and that's when we have to rely on our training and our radar analysis to be able to really decipher what's going on with this particular thunderstorm. And the tornado warning, again, it's only in effect until 4 p.m. This is a radar-indicated tornado. The storm now is moving out of Montgomery County. So Montgomery County, you're likely going to be in the clear. If this tornado warning is reissued, it's likely only going to be for Walker and San Jacinto County. But I want to zoom in here and talk about some of the towns. You talked about some of the roads, David, that are in the path. Phelps, I need you now in your safe place, because this is going to be on your doorstep next within about 10 minutes. Oakhurst as well. You are within the path of this thunderstorm as well. And then Point Blank. This thunderstorm is moving at about 30 to 35 miles per hour from Oakhurst as well. You are within the path of this thunderstorm as well. And Oakhurst as well. You are within the path of this thunderstorm as well. And then Point Blank. This thunderstorm is moving at about 30 to 35 miles per hour from southwest to northeast, now moving into portions of Walker County and then soon San Jacinto County. This tornado-warned thunderstorm is going to continue to lift to the northeast, eventually again crossing 190. It's just crossing I-45 right now. So hopefully nobody is out on I-45 or within that direction. They've stopped. They've pulled over to the side of the road with this very intense thunderstorm on their doorstep as well. So moving through this now, we're going to point out that rotation again, as David mentioned. The rotation now looks like, even within the past 5 minutes since I put on this highlight, it is now moved to the east of Interstate 45. And that rotation is now going to continue to push into portions of Walker County. So I'll back this up on the radar real quick for everyone and just show you the trajectory of this thunderstorm. Again, a tornado warning in effect until 4 p.m. David, I see you just got some of the latest information there from the National Weather Service on this.
I did get some information from the National Weather Service. They are going to let the tornado warning expire at 4 p.m., so that's coming up in about another 5 seconds or so. They're saying that even though the storm is still rotating a bit, it's not rotating as much as it was before, and they're going to go ahead and let the tornado warning expire at 4 p.m., and that is good news. Again, these storms are moving away from the Houston area where we want them to. We want them to move away from here and not affect the county that has 4 to 5 million people in it. So that's what we have right now. Lisa, you stay on standby for us, because Eyewitness News at 4 starts right now.